The commandment for today is, "You shall not commit adultery." Decalogue 6 is the second Decalogue episode to get the feature film treatment, with the extended cut called A Short Film About Love. Actually, the theatrical version has a completely different ending than the television version, but I won't touch on that in this video. I think that the first comparison most people will bring up after watching this episode is to Hitchcock's masterpiece Rear Window, as both films focus on a man spying on a woman with a telescope from their apartment. That's pretty much where the similarities end, and any thought into either film reveals that this comparison is superficial. Rear Window is obviously a thriller, while this is a love story. Even so, the comparison is decent for describing it to people who haven't seen it. It's Rear Window, but a love story. An almost silent love story at that. First, we see the world from Tomek's eyes as he watches Magda through the lens of the telescope he stole from the school. Kieślowski doesn't show us the development of his love for her. Instead, he places us right in the middle. The minute the film opens, he's in love with her. We watch her life through his eyes. Every day she gets home at about 8:30 p.m., for which Tomek sets an alarm. Tomek and the audience gaze at Magda through the telescope for Tomek and zoom lenses for the audiences. To keep us in this world, we don't hear anything when viewing her. We hear the room tone of his room. That's it. We see her sleep with two different men, one of which breaks up with her after what we can assume finding out about her affair. Tomek stops watching when she sleeps with these men. It hurts him to do so. It's easy to chalk this episode up to being some kind of statement on the male gaze, which to me is just a meaningless buzzword in the film community. No, it's more than that. This last time I watched it, I got this feeling that the episode is, in some ways, a fourth wall breaking episode. With Decalogue, we look into the lives of random people in this apartment building. We intrude into their personal and intimate stories. Tomek does the same with Magda, doesn't he? He views her having a relationship with two people, which we saw in Decalogue 2, 3, and 4 in one way or another. But still, this is more of a cheeky observation, I think, than anything else. Yes, Kieślowski might be breaking the fourth wall in a way, but is that the point of the episode? No, I don't think so. Because it doesn't just stick to Tomek watching her. It's not enough for him. He fakes money orders so that she'll visit him at the post office. He delivers milk so he can see her in the mornings. Not to mention, he confesses to her that he watches her, and the relationship turns from this one-sided relationship where he's watching her life to a sort of mutual understanding. She likes the fact that he watches her, although her first act of performance, you could say, is to bring over her boyfriend so they can have sex while Tomek watches. I think this is both an act against and an act for Tomek. It's a form of humiliation, but it's also meant to be erotic for him. Well, it doesn't really happen, as she tells her partner that Tomek is watching, which understandably angers him. He leaves in a huff and challenges Tomek to a fight. And I gotta say, her boyfriend's a pretty cool guy. He punches Tomek in the face, sure, but he picks him up and he gives him some solid advice. It honestly felt like a big brother teaching his little brother a harsh but necessary lesson. Adding on to the fact that Magda kind of likes being watched, she grows accustomed to it and picks up her telephone when she wants Tomek to call. When Tomek goes to the hospital for slitting his wrists, she becomes obsessed with him, spying on his room with her binoculars. To contrast how they watch each other, Tomek sees all of Magda's apartment, but Magda can't look into Tomek's. The curtains are drawn, and all she can really see are silhouettes. Of course, this has to be a visual metaphor into how much they know about each other. Tomek knows her whole life, at least for the year that he's been watching her. She doesn't even know his name, even after their date. Which brings me to the date. The date doesn't exactly go well, which is putting it mildly. Tomek finally musters the courage to ask Magda out to get ice cream at a cafe. She agrees, and he gleefully runs around the courtyard, almost running into Artur Barkish. This is the only time we see Artur smile in the whole series. I just wanted to take a photo of the moment, just to make sure it was real. But once we get to the date, we see what Kieślowski is doing theme-wise. Tomek is the romantic virgin who believes in love. Magda is the cynical and, let's just say, sexually experienced woman who doesn't believe in love. She just believes in the physical. We already heard Tomek say he wants nothing from her. He just loves her. He loves her not because of what she does, but in spite of it. Acting as a foil to both Magda and Anka from Decalogue 4. The chemistry just isn't there for the date. It's stiff and uncomfortable, like most first dates. It's not bad, but it's not great either. However, it takes a nosedive when they get back to her place. Magda uses her sexual experience to not only intimidate Tomek, but also refute his idea of love, reducing the concept to just a physical reaction to arousal. He storms out of the apartment, embarrassed and humiliated, and runs into Artur Barkish yet again. He goes to his apartment and slits his wrists. After he goes to the hospital is when Magda becomes obsessed with him and the tables turn. In the television version, Tomek rejects Magda after she becomes obsessed with him. From a 2019 perspective, you could joke that this is like Tomek turning full MGTOW Volcel. It's a fitting ending, though, since it plays into the fact that there is romance in something that you do not or cannot have. Magda doesn't want Tomek when he's head over heels for her, and he doesn't want her when she falls in love with him. What does that say about how we treat relationships? I, for one, don't ship the two of them. She's much older than he is, and she's not his type. He's quiet and quite gentle. I have a feeling that he might be on the spectrum, as he doesn't really understand why people cry, and he's honest to a fault. He's a pretty fragile person. Magda, on the other hand, is hardened and pessimistic. She strikes me as a type to never really establish a stable relationship. Perhaps Tomek taught her something about unrequited love, but I'm not sure. I guess we could also ponder whether what either of them experienced is actually love, or is just obsession. Or perhaps those feelings overlap. With this episode, more so than other episodes, I have to say that words fail. It's more about the feeling than analyzing. I don't mean any of these videos to be the end-all in terms of discussion, but just conversation starters. Well, I guess the episodes are the starters, and I'm just continuing the conversation. But with Decalogue 6, to put it into words is not enough. It's an episode that doesn't deal with intellectualism, and just wants you to feel it. Like how you don't mentally know that you're in love. You just feel it.
Jak zdążymy, to przyjdziesz do mnie. A jak nie, to nie. Zgoda? To daj rękę.